And so like one thing I look at people is um how people treat you has nothing to do with you. Has everything to do with that person.
Yeah.
You know,
How they react to you is
mhm.
that's on them as well, right? You
Yeah,
don't control someone's reaction, perception of you.
yeah, what
What's that one line? Somebody's opinion of you is none of your business.
yeah, and that to me is a bit incomplete because like I understand that mentality, but like it doesn't help
Hmm.
me. What helps me is like I'm a very over analytical person, so like think about it from your
Never
own
met her.
right. Um, think about it from your own perspective too of the things that you've done in your life. You know, what behaviors have you changed? What perceptions have you changed? What growth have you done in your life that if you were to look back at your former self and go, that guy, that person was kind of a piece of shit. Because I can do
Yeah.
that with myself, right? Like,
Oh, I could totally do that with myself. Absolutely do that with myself. My first marriage,
yeah,
I
and
was absolutely a fucking garbage dumpster human being
yeah. So like,
because I did not understand myself or anything, and I was just fucking ADHD dopamine hunting, right? If it
yeah,
was not nailed down, I fucked it. And I couldn't, it's not an excuse by any stretch of the imagination,
yeah.
but it's an explanation as to why I was doing it. Now, in retrospect, I understand why I kind of was that guy. But
Mhm.
no, I was a fucking garbage human.
Yeah. And so, how did you treat people?
How did I treat people
Mhm.
overall?
During that time period? You probably didn't treat people very well.
Um, Probably not.
Yeah.
I'd have to think on that a little bit more. Okay, so during that time period, I would have been 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. I was working in the nightclubs. I was treated kind of like a local celebrity, like a trophy. Um, and yeah, it did end up going to my head. I
Yeah.
ended up thinking that, I was invincible and whatnot. I ended up getting fired from the job twice, actually. Worked there 3 times, got or 4 times, got fired twice, quit once.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I probably didn't. I was fucking arrogant. I was cocky as hell. I was an invincible 20-year-old.
And see, that kind of proves my point right there because you didn't treat people poorly because people like that specific person did anything. You just did. You just acted that way because of the internal stuff that you were going through, because of the behaviors that you weren't willing to address, because
I
of
got
the
stories.
atmosphere.
Shut up, Nate.
You know,
Shut up, Nate. You do not have stories. You zip your fucking lip.
it's one of those
I
things. Is
haven't
like,
known Nate for over 25 years.
I've hurt people in the past that I regret hurting. I've
Yeah.
I've done things that I fully regret doing. You know,
Hmm.
but I didn't do those things because someone was a certain way. I didn't treat people the way I did because of them. I treated them that way because of who I was. So when you understand that, like for me, I can understand when someone treats me poorly, when someone does something to me, it's not because of me. It's because of where they are currently in their own healing, in their own life.
Yeah.
They, in that moment, do not have the capacity to see why they are being hurtful or harmful or to address their behaviors. Now, you can call it out. You can, you know, you can, put a boundary up. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to have it in your life, but it helps with the healing. It helps with the processing of those moments because it still hurts. It still sucks, but you can have a better understanding of why it's happening and a better understanding why you're better off without it.
Yeah.
And like we
Yeah, I,
also,
I was absolutely in a terrible spot
yeah,
back
we
then. For sure I was. I did not understand myself in any way. Like I said, I was re-diagnosed like a year or two later and still, knew nothing. Sounds like this. Here's a pack of pills. Have a happy life,
yeah,
right?
which that is something I want to touch on too, because I had an interesting message on Instagram a while back. Uh, but
Sure.
um, but yeah, like behaviors in people have nothing to do with the people around them, and everything to do with the people with the person itself.